Hello everyone, Pantoufleee here today for a new review concerning the Ori. Finally, the tier 10 Japanese tank destroyer is available, and oh my god, is it fucking good, man. I love this tank, I freaking love it, but I'm gonna explain to you why, and I'm gonna explain to you why this tank especially will not fit everyone's playstyle, because it's really hard to play correctly. Let me explain. First, we're gonna talk about the pros and the cons, and after I have a couple of aces. I know the video is gonna be long because I really wanted for you to know if it fits your playstyle, so I went with many types of gameplay I used with this tank that resulted in ace tanker for you to be sure if or not the tank fits your playstyle. So, concerning the pros and the cons. First thing first, let's talk about the gun. The gun has an alpha damage that is a bit below average, because you don't have a 640, you have something like 580. Therefore, you're gonna have a little bit less alpha damage, but you will reload faster. You will reload in 10.8 to 10.4 seconds, which gives it an extremely good DPM, around 3.3k when you are fully upgraded and with provisions, etc. So clearly, this tank is great in terms of damage. And also, can we talk about the penetration, guys? The penetration of this thing is simply incredible. 310 with the base, 380 with the gold shells. Knowing the gold shells are APs, it means these ammunitions are gonna... There are two things I really love about the gun, despite the alpha damage and the penetration. There is also the fact that this tank is carrying APs at gold shells. And AP plus, I'm gonna call it AP plus. AP plus, what is great about this is that it's gonna do more module damage. So with this one, you increase your chances of penetrating, but you also increase your chances of destroying a module on someone else's tank. Therefore, you will put fire more easily, also Amarax, etc. And I think that's a cool stuff that you should know about. So that's why I like the fact that it doesn't have APCRs or heat. So now for the gun, clearly the tank is extremely competitive. Also, yeah, the gun dispersion is also great. Now, let's talk about the mobility. I was expecting the tank to go extremely fast. Really, I was expecting this tank to be one of the fastest tank destroyers in the game. And it appears that it's completely the opposite. Not the opposite, but I mean, it's just average. The mobility is just average. You will go around 40 kilometers per hour, which is not a lot, let's face it. But at least you are not going to 20 kilometers, for example, like the tortoise we had on the right of the screen right now. So it will allow you to take advanced position, but not really extremely aggressive position at the beginning of the game. Let's let that sink in, but it's not a problem because that's clearly not your role. So the mobility is average. And now the main point, the main weakness of the tank is the armor. You don't really have a good armor. Let me explain. Concerning the top of your hull, where the gun is mounted, you can try to bounce shots as long as people are not using gold shells. As soon as they are using gold shells, everybody is gonna go through your tank. Concerning the lower part of the tank, everybody's gonna go through tier 9s, tier 10, no problem. So make sure to only show the upper part of your casemate if you can. Same as the Yak Panther 2, for example. Even if here you still have to angle the top of your casemate, because if you don't, you are gonna get wrecked, because no armor. You climb up to 250 millimeters, but not much. So if you angle it, you can probably, if you're lucky, you can probably try to climb to 280 millimeters of effective armor, but let's not try it. Honestly, if you can avoid being the target for shots, try it, because it's really important for you to keep your HPs, because you don't have a lot of them. Now, concerning the rest, I think if we sum up, we can say that it has a good gun, an average mobility, and a bad armor. Now, how do you want to play it? Here, for example, in this replay, as you can see, I'm not trying to play extremely aggressively. You can't. With this one, you can't. You can play aggressively only if you're not the one being targeted. That's extremely important, and I'm gonna show you right there after this replay what I mean about that, because I have a replay showing exactly that. But yeah, here, for example, I'm locked with some tank destroyers, for example, 263 or 268. Maybe I would have tried to push, but here I can't. It's impossible impossible for me to push because of my armor that is not existing, especially if I face an FV183 or a T95 or anything like that. So yeah, really be aware of that. You are a support tank. Of course, you're a tank destroyer, but some tanks destroyer can actually do well at frontline. With this one, no. Clearly, no, no, no. You stay in the back, you wait for your team to go in, and as soon as they go in, you can join them, because your mobility allows you to do so. But you have to wait for them to push, which means this is a team-dependent tank, which can be upsetting sometimes, let's not lie, because clearly if you don't have the patience, because I know I'm not a patient player, but for the moment I still like it. But if you're not patient, oh god, are you gonna struggle waiting for your team to do something, especially if you're playing with retards. Now look at the alpha damage. AP plus, I didn't even aim at the lower part of the T95, the weak spot. I went straight through the upper part of the armor, because 380 millimeters of armor, you can go through pretty much everything in this goddamn game. So now, who should go for this tank? Let me explain. Who should go for it? Honestly, it's not a tank for beginners. Really, it's a tank for extremely confirmed player. And I'm not even talking about people having 20,000 battle and let's say around 1.2k average damage. I'm talking about real pros. I'm talking about guys that have at least 1.8k average damage per game. Honestly, if you want to do great with this, you clearly need a lot of skill. You can't do well with this one if you don't have at least, let's say, I don't like giving numbers like this, but it's gonna highlight to you what kind of difficulty this tank you will face with this tank. But I say 2.4k WN8. If you don't have at least 2.4k WN8, this tank is not for you. Or you do well in your 263, and you can still try to adapt a little bit the gameplay with this one, even if playstyle are a bit different due to the fact that you have less armor with this one. But anyway, now that we know for who the tank is, let's talk about how do you want to play it. I already talked about the support role here, and I'm gonna keep going on this because I'm gonna wait for the second replay, no, the third one to come, so I can show you what I mean by playing aggressively with this, because you can. But here, yeah, as you can see, I didn't really try to play aggressively on this one. I took a couple of shots because I tried something on T125 at the beginning of the game, but it was not something that made me push aggressively on my enemies. I didn't try it. I could have tried to drop on the T125 if I had a 268 or a 263 or something, but with a Hori, you can't do that. Really be aware that you need your team to be with you. Without the team, you're nothing. So, now that this game is over, I'm gonna show you one more playstyle that I like to use with this tank. And you probably know that if you're used to the channel, but I wanted to talk about the middle support aggressive range. I don't know if I already talked about it on the channel, probably I did. But what do I mean by that? I mean, you can try to play aggressively with this tank because the mobility allows you to do so, but you need to stay a little bit in cover. What do I mean by that? I mean, you go in the center of the battle, but you make sure not to be the one being targeted. That's extremely important. And how do you want to do that? I'm gonna highlight the technique here, for example. Here, if I was a traditional TD, I could just stay here and camp. But no, I decided, no, you know what? I wanted to try this tank aggressively. So what do? I cross, I wait for the medium to cross so I can get a shot. And now I can start working aggressively with my team supporting me. It's really important if you do this kind of playstyle, you really need to have a good team. You need to have your team in the back. You need to have your team shooting. You need to have aggressive players with you. If you don't have aggressive players, don't try this because you're gonna get wrecked. So as you can see, I'm not really pushing hard, or I'm not trying to be the center of the attention of my enemies. I'm just here to deal some shots without being targeted, and that's exactly what is happening right now. The heavy doesn't care about me, the 268 doesn't care about me, the 5120 is gonna care about me, but I don't really care because he doesn't have the last gun, so it's not really a threat to us. And you're gonna see it's working pretty well, because on this one we also did an ace tanker. Look at this. When you are not the one being targeted, you can work well. Maybe I should add something concerning the gun depression, sorry, of the tank, because it's clearly not the best. It's gonna do the trick because your tank is high enough for you to be able to do things normal tank destroyers can do. I'm thinking, for example, about penetrating badgers if they try to be close to you, or this kind of stuff. But yeah, as you can see here, I'm not really trying to play aggressively. I mean, I'm playing aggressively when I have to deal with some tanks that I can one-shot, for example, the C50. But I'm not trying to go straight in my enemies. I mean, I don't have the armor for this, and that's important to do that. Now, talking about the penetration, maybe I forgot to tell you something. With this one, you can actually, and I tested it, so I know what I'm talking about. You can penetrate Badger frontally with gold shells. It doesn't care. We don't care if it's angle or not. You are gonna penetrate. That's incredible. That's incredible, and it made me laugh this morning when I saw that. With this one, you can't bounce. Really, bouncing with the Ori is extremely rare. I didn't bounce a single shell since the beginning of my Ori career this morning. So clearly, yeah, it's gonna do the trick. So now let's go for the last game, so we can highlight one last playstyle. It's similar to the one I just showed you previously right there, but still it's something else different. So, for example, we're in Naval Frontier. I think that's the name of the map, Naval Frontier. I think, if it's not the name of the map, just tell me in the comments. So, what do I decided to do? I could just camp on the right side here on the bush, you know, the traditional tank destroyer position. But I'm not like this. I'm not gonna insult campers, but I'm not like this. So, what did I decided to go? I decided to do the same as I do with my mediums, heavies, etc., playing aggressively, as you already saw on the first replay. What do I want to do now? I want to take an advanced position on the top of the hill here, because from there I can have pretty much eyes on every single bottom of the maps, which means I can try to work effectively. They clearly need to repair this. The wall is broken here. I hope they're gonna fix it soon, or could be great. But yeah, I take this position because from here I'm still playing aggressively, but I'm not playing aggressively enough to be the center of the attention. I mean, I'm gonna sneak some shots from time to time, but I'm not the one being targeted. And that's exactly how you want to play your Ori. And to do that, you need to have skill, because you need map knowledge, you need to know which tanks you're dealing with, you need to know the reload of the tanks you're facing. All these information that you acquire only when you're a good player, or at least when you have played enough World of Tank Blitz. So now, how are we gonna do it? I'm not gonna try to move from my position. I mean, I'm fine here, and they are pushing. They're all going to come and cross my... they're gonna cross around my gun. Look at this. I don't need to move. Leo 1 is here. We derp him. We're gonna derp several tanks here. I guarantee you that. But yeah, clearly... I love this tank. I truly love this tank. And if you're a super unicom, I think the Ori is gonna be in your top 5 tank destroyers of all time. Because, oh my gosh, is it good. Of course, I'm still hyped for the tank, and you need to take that into consideration, because the tank just got out. Which means after the release, probably people are gonna start knowing that if you play full gold against the Ori, you can't bounce. But I'm gonna still wait for people to realize that, and I hope the good old days of the Ori are not only today and tomorrow, but at least make the tank OPness stand for a long time. But we will see that. We will see that. Time will tell us. Now look at this. For example, T123 with a lot of tanks, I would not have been able to penetrate that. But here, look at that. Boom! I just destroyed the T123 with a shot. I'm gonna go for an AP plus, and look at this. I mean, the tank was nearly not angled at all. It was nearly a non-penetrating shell for pretty much every single tank destroyer in the game. But with the Ori, it's a no match. I mean, you are gonna be overmatching every single tank in this goddamn game as soon as you use your AP+, which is amazing. And I'm really glad Wargaming decided to go out of World of Tank PC rules by adding their own new content, and I'm glad they did, because clearly that was worth it, because I truly enjoy this tank. Now, the review is now over. I don't really have much things else to say about the tank. I think that's the first time I do a review that long, but I thought, hey, that's important. especially for a new tier 10 when it's a Tech 3-1. So I hope you enjoyed the review. If that's the case, feel free to subscribe, like, and share. Tell me in the comments if you're gonna go for the Ori or not. And I'm gonna see you soon for the rest of the branch, because of course we are gonna review every single one of the Japanese tank destroyer. See ya, guys!